Hi, welcome back. I was in the middle of double checking this and my phone rang and it stopped the video, so I'm just going to pick up there. Definitely the whole thing 39 times 6 is 234, and we noticed the whole thing, this one, the whole thing here is 26, and 26 times 9 is 234 as well. So we're definitely sure that's the right answer. Okay, here's our bicycle question. And we know that we should make boxes because these are tangent lines and tangents make 90 degrees from radiuses. So they'd like me to solve for AD. So I'm going to draw that in, and I'm also going to draw a right triangle because we know right triangles let me use Pythagorean theorem. So we notice AB is 8, DC is 3, and we've just drawn in a rectangle. So if DC is 3, the other side of the rectangle is 3. We also know BC is 26. That would make the other side of the rectangle 26. And again, we know that AB happens to be 8. So the whole radius is 8. The part of the radius that we focused on here is 3. So this would have to be 5. Again, I'm just subtracting 3 from 8 to figure out what number plus 3 would give me the whole thing, 8. So now what I'm focusing on now is my right triangle, and I can use Pythagorean theorem to solve for AD. So I'm just going to make that x because that's what I'm solving for. Okay. So again, DC was 3. And AB was 8. That tells me that this is 5, and I have a right triangle. I have a right triangle 5, 26, and I don't know, maybe probably just a little bit bigger than 26. So I can use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared is C squared, and I've already called the hypotenuse x, so I'm just going to do it that way. A squared is 5, and B squared is 26. And so that should tell us what x squared is, and then we just square root both sides to find out what that is. So this would be 25. This is 676. So definitely this length doesn't make sense at 701. I need to take the square root of 701 to find x. And they also said round to the nearest tenth. So when I do that, I get this answer. So this would be the tenths place. So the 7 would tell me to round the 4 up to a 5. Now this also makes sense in my problem. So the distance between A and D would be 26.5. Cool. Now let's work our way to the back. Now again, you're going to have notes. I'm just decided to work off of a blank sheet. So keep going. Now this question is about arc. So it says the measure of arc DE is 96 degrees, and the measure of arc BC is 47. Find the measure of angle A. So you're actually solving for that angle. So we have to look back from our notes in class, and they're definitely looking for arcs or angles. So now I'm looking at the relationships like toward the beginning of the chapter that we talked about arcs and angles, and I notice it looks like question 6, okay? And they give me this formula. They said that the big arc that's trapped by the angle, the big arc CD, minus the small arc BA, the small arc, if I subtract them and cut them in half, that should equal my angle on the outside. Okay, so that is a neat pattern that they observed. We're going to use that same observation. The big arc, DE, minus my little arc, BC, divided by 2 has to equal the measure of angle A. And that's exactly what they've asked me to solve for. So if I plug in 96 minus 47 and divide that in half, I should get the measure of my angle. Okay, so I end up getting 24.5. Doesn't say to round or not round, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Subtract the 2 and divide by 2, That's definitely what is the pattern that they observed over 1,000 years ago that was always true. Pretty interesting. And that's a secant problem, as I'm using arcs though. Cool. Next one. Now this looks like the questions we had earlier, doesn't it? Looks like these questions, but now we're dealing with arcs. So it says arc AB is 43, and arc CD is 35, okay? Now, can I find the measure of this angle created? Interesting. So in nature, they observed another observation, and we said in class this matches question number 4. So using the formula from question 4, or reference number 4 on our sheet, it says if I take the big arc and add it to the small arc and divide by 2, I'll get the number in the middle. This is called the average. When I add two things together and divide by 2, so it's pretty interesting. I think most of us would notice this 1,000 years ago. Oh, weird, that angle ended up being the average of these two numbers. So again, the formula states, take the big one, okay, I guess that'd be the 43, arc AB or BA, plus, now I'm not subtracting, I'm adding now. So think of this also looks like a plus sign here, so that might also help you think about adding. Plus CD, if I divide by 2, it should give me the measure of angle X, the angle in the middle. So 43 and 35, if I divide that, I'll get the measure of angle X just using my formula sheet. So that's 78 divided by 2. We get 39 degrees. Cool. Next one. It says, find the measure of angle D for the measure of angle B 76. So angle B is 76 degrees. And now I'm going to be looking at which one it matches. Well, part of knowing our vocab is what helps. These look like tangent lines, right? And so I'm noticing that it looks like, and we noticed in class, this looks like question 8. So it's stating the big arc minus the small arc divided by 2 has to be my angle out here. It's very similar to this question, isn't it? Big arc minus little arc divided by 2 is that angle. So same exact formula. See how that looks exactly like the same formula, but there might be a little twist. And the twist is, if it's an arc question and these are two tangents, notice that the little arc plus the big arc equals the whole thing. That didn't happen back here. The little arc and the big arc don't make up the whole circle, but there is a relationship here that only happens if I have two tangent lines. So let's see how that would find out. If I knew the big arc minus the little arc, right, I would get this angle. Well, we know from before, right, that if the angle on this circle is this angle, that's a tip of the cone, is half the snow. So that means the orange snow would have to be 76 times 2. 152. Interesting. So this is 152. And now I also know the blue snow, 360 minus 152 is 208. So I know the blue arc is 208. And so I actually have the information I need. The big arc is the blue arc, ABC, minus the little arc, AC, divided by 2 has to equal this angle outside, the measure of angle D. Okay, well, the big arc is 208. The little arc is 152. And if I cut that in half, I'll be able to solve for the measure of angle D. There we go. Cool. All right, we got 2 more. We probably can't fit it on the tape, but we'll try. And the second tape will probably be some algebra, but let's set these up. So we see the measure of angle S is 45, so I'll fill that in. The measure of arc, RS, is 118. But I'm already feeling like I know what angle S is. It's definitely an inscribed angle because it's out here on the circle. It's the tip of the cone. So I actually know this happens to be 90 degrees, right? Because the tip of the cone is half the snow. Now it says RU is tangent, okay? Find angle U. So I'm going to call that X because that's what I'm being asked to solve for. What is the measure of angle U? Now, we said in class that this looked like a question from 5. Same formula. See this same formula each time? Big arc minus little arc over 2 is the angle on the outside. So let's see. We've got the big arc is SR.